Well, this isn't something I thought I would actually end up doing. Kingdom Hearts, one of the most beloved RPG series of all time, combining not just the likes of Final Fantasy, but also straight Disney. The concept of this series has always intrigued me, but unfortunately I never really seemed interested. I even remember going to a GameStop in the year 2004, and I was going to pick up my own copy of Sonic Heroes for the PlayStation 2. I rang it up at the counter and the guy told me that he highly recommended me a particular game, which in fact was Kingdom Hearts. Ain't the universe funny? I declined it and I decided to just have Sonic Heroes, so I literally became a Sonic fan because of that. Only recently did I get into this series and become a pretty big unexpected fan, if I'm gonna be honest here, and it's turned into one of my favorite franchises of all time. I'm actually pretty damn thankful for that because, for one, I didn't have to go through all the struggles of owning multiple consoles at once just to experience these games. That's probably the biggest problem because, yes, before we had these HD remasters, we had Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PS2, but Chain of Memories was for the Game Boy Advance, 358 Over 2 Days and Recoded were on the Nintendo DS, Coded actually being a fucking mobile phone game, and Dream Drop Distance on the 3DS, with Birth by Sleep on the fucking PSP, leaving Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Who the hell thought all these consoles would be a great idea? What's worse is that these games are heavily story driven, and if you went from Kingdom Hearts 1 straight to Kingdom Hearts 2 without playing anything like Chain of Memories, you'd be more confused than you would be tied up with a bag over your head, and when it's over you realize you're in Uncle Jeffrey's basement. Look, in my opinion, if they wanted everyone to be able to play these games, they should have put these games on one fucking console, but I digress because, as I stated, there are HD remasters for these games, so if you have a PS3 or a PS4, especially a PS4, you're perfectly fine then. 358 and Recoded, however, are cutscenes only, and since I am reviewing off the story so far, you're not going to see any real gameplay, but I will mention it in some way, shape, or form so I can show that I still have an opinion on those games. The main director for this series is a man named Tetsuya Nomura, who wanted to make this a bit of an action platformer RPG, and apparently had in mind that a 12-year-old kid with spiky hair who wielded a giant key as a sword was a great idea, so that's how this series became to be. He also wanted to bring Final Fantasy into the mix with Square Enix, and also wanted Disney to be involved, and it's a funny story how Disney even became a part of the conversation. Apparently, a Disney executive and a Square Enix executive chit-chatted in an elevator and decided to make this a reality, so there's your fun fact. So right now's the part where I start to talk about the plot, right? Okay, well, before I get into all that, I will be putting in a spoiler skip timestamp for you so I don't have to spoil anything for you. One more thing is that I should mention that on Twitter I did a poll on whether I should do Kingdom Hearts 1 or Birth by Sleep first, and I landed on Birth by Sleep. But now I'm thinking of just doing it in release date because although, yes, Birth by Sleep is a prequel, it has its moments where you won't understand it unless you play the other games. But with that said, let's get started with Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. The game starts with Sora, a young boy who has weird-ass dreams about all kinds of dark shit. After selecting your chosen weapon, you wake up and see Kairi and Riku, Sora's best friends, who are working on building a raft together so that they could travel to different worlds. In the meantime, you get to beat the shit out of Final Fantasy characters, race Riku to decide what your boat's name is gonna be, and collect fish because why the fuck not. At sunset, the three characters talk and question about why they were put on their little island, especially Riku, who is really wanting to leave. In the meantime, we see Disney Castle where Donald and Goofy get a note from King Mickey, who has disappeared to go find out about disturbances in other worlds. Leaving Donald and Goofy to search for the one who holds the key. Wanna guess who that is? Later that night, Sora wakes up to see a big storm and leaves his own home to go check to see if the raft he and the others have been working on is safe and completely skips out on dinner. And like the asshole he is, he leaves his mom and we never hear or see from her again. Where's the father? That's a good fucking question that I can't answer. Sora starts to see all of the dark creatures known as Heartless who can't be affected by that wooden toy Sora has and checks on Riku, who says that the worlds are open and reaches for Sora's hand, but a dark shadow casts around Riku and in a beam of light, Sora gets the Keyblade. A magical weapon that's just a giant key because welcome to Disney and Final Fantasy. Sora rushes to this little secret area that him, Kairi, and Riku hung out, and I forgot to mention that this weird dude in a cloak spits some mumbo jumbo that's gonna be important later, trust me. Confusing, yes, I know. Sora sees Kairi, and now shit hits the fan because Kairi phases through Sora and fades away, leaving Sora to fight this pathetic excuse for a giant Heartless. Seriously, this dude's shit. Sora gets transported to Traverse Town where Donald and Goofy, like I mentioned earlier, are actually sent there to find the one with the key, which, yes, we all know who that is by now, right? Sora ends up slapping the shit out of a few Heartless and bumps into a few Final Fantasy characters, such as Leon or Squall, whatever floats your boat, Yuffie, Sid, Moogles, and Aerith. I don't care what anyone says, Aerith Gainsborough can get it! Hey, I know for a fact I'm not the only one who thinks that, don't judge me. I'd put in that video game booty so damn quick. If she's a video game, I'm a video game. That's just simple as that. Sora talks to Leon and Yuffie, who tell them that the Heartless can't be slayed easily without the power of the one who holds the key, while Aerith talks to Donald and Goofy. Sora, Donald, and Goofy eventually meet up and end up fighting a Heartless together and form an alliance, traveling to different worlds to see the keyhole in each world. Honestly, the whole story could be summed up as just that, but in all honesty, you're a fucking moron if you think you'll get off of that scot-free. You're not just traveling to different Disney worlds, you're also interacting with said world, and they're honestly just rehashes of the original movies. Except now you got Sora and gang tagging along. While in the midst of all of this, Riku wakes up in Hollow Bastion and is then manipulated by Maleficent, who uses him for the power of darkness, and he slowly gives in, and all I can say is that, Riku, you're a fucking asshole. Constantly throughout your journey, this bitch decides that you're the one that's in the wrong, and because you're hanging out with Donald and Goofy, means that you don't give a shit about Kairi. Look, I understand that he's being manipulated by darkness, but this fucker can't just sit down for 5 minutes and listen to how Sora is looking for Kairi and him?
I've been looking for you, and Kairi too, with their help. We've visited so many places and worlds, looking for you.
Really? Well, what do you know? I never would have guessed.
Oh, okay then. Dumb bitch. Hell, even on Captain Hook's ship, Riku mocks Sora for wasting his time, and when Sora does flat out say he's been looking for her, Riku still acts like a giant cock. Again, I understand he's getting manipulated by darkness and shit, but come on Riku, pull your head out of your ass and tell Maleficent to, I don't know, fuck off? This is the point in the game where we finally find Kairi, by the way, but she's in a coma and cannot awaken from her slumber for a reason I must have missed. Apparently, Maleficent's main motivation is to capture all the 7 Lights of Heart, which are just 7 Disney princesses, and Kairi is needed to fully open the door to darkness. Because, yes. Speaking of darkness, the cloaked figure in Sora's hiding place turns out to be a man named Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness, and is really the main villain of this game, and he fully possesses Riku, succumbing him to total darkness by the end of it. So for the rest of half the climax of the game, Riku is full darkness, which makes me want to slap him even more now. After Sora defeats Riku, he then stabs himself in the heart to awaken Kairi from her coma, turning him into a Heartless. I've heard multiple times about how freaking sad this whole scene is, and I'll admit, it is kind of sad. But since I know for a fact that this is the first game in the series, and that also there are multiple games with Sora in it, I wasn't really affected that much because I knew Sora didn't really die and turn into a Heartless, so I guess the emotion was just gone for me. And he doesn't stay one for very long because right when Kairi hugs Sora, it turns him back into a human. The gang leave Kairi in Traverse Town with the rest of the Final Fantasy crew and return to Hollow Bastion so that Sora can finally bring everything back to order. He ends up in this weird distorted world which is close enough to say that a whole world can lose its own self, yes, and become hell essentially. By the way, I forgot to mention that right as soon as Sora does turn into a Heartless, Riku actually backs Ansem off of him and Kairi so that way they can escape safely, just thought I'd let you know. Sora ends up at this door where he finds Ansem and the two get into a scuffle over light and darkness, in which Ansem attempts to release Kingdom Hearts so that he can become one with true darkness, but Kingdom Hearts is just like, nah fam, I'm light. Destroying Ansem in the process, Riku and Sora, who after defeating him in Hollow Bastion gets sent to the Realm of Darkness, close the door with King Mickey, who seals the door closed for good. Sora returns Kairi to Destiny Island and the two are separated yet again. After the credits roll, Sora, Donald, and Goofy walk down this plain field where they're lost on what they need to do now, but then Pluto comes to find them with a letter with King Mickey's seal, so maybe their new adventure will come just soon. On the Game Boy Advance, so you better ask for that shit for Christmas if you lived in 2002, that is. And that's Kingdom Hearts' story. Not too complicated for the first game, and to me, it still holds up quite a bit. The best way I can actually describe this kind of scenario is that Riku and Sora's relationship is literally just two angsty teenagers who fell to one side while the other followed another path, making darkness versus light, and in the end, light wins over darkness, and in the midst of all this, we got a buttload of teenage drama to deal with. The biggest thing that kept me interested in Kingdom Hearts, though, before I sat down and played it, was the fact that Disney was a huge influence. But after sitting down and playing this game, I don't feel like the Disney worlds mean too much. You notice I barely talked about them, and the reason why is because they're literally the same as their movies, except for maybe Olympus Coliseum, but still. Pinocchio and Geppetto are stuck inside a Monstro, Clayton is a fucking tool trying to kill gorillas, Jafar wants a lamp, and Peter Pan is fucking Peter Pan. You throw a Heartless in the worlds, and only then does Sora and his crew really hold any value to these worlds existing in the first place. But even then, apparently they're not supposed to meddle with other worlds, but if that's the case, how the hell are we even supposed to seal the keyhole and protect that world from its Heartless if we're not supposed to meddle a little bit in the process? They not only hardly relate to the story besides Monstro and maybe Wonderland, but I feel the only way they made these work was by adding some Dark Force, and I'll admit, I grew up with these movies, so it was awesome to play through, but they aren't too interesting in my opinion. Hell, my favorite worlds aren't even the Disney ones besides Halloween Town and Neverland, but still. While I did mention Heartless, I didn't really describe what they were, so I'll talk about that really quick. Basically, if you're attacked by these creatures, you'll most likely succumb to their darkness and you'll lose your heart. Not biological heart, by the way, but metaphorical hearts, which I don't know why they didn't just call them souls, because that's literally what they are. Whenever Sora defeats one, their hearts return to their original vessels. Hence why when Sora appears himself with a Keyblade, he loses his heart and becomes one, but I guess due to Kairi's affection, instead of violence, gave Sora his body back. And one thing I wanted to add was Ansem himself. Well, this man literally comes out of nowhere if you really don't pay attention or bother reading these Ansem reports. I know I could care less about that shit, so to me Ansem shows up as a complete surprise, but when he gets his body back, that's all she wrote for me after he possessed Riku, and that shit's just fucking stupid. I understand Ansem pretty well, but only because I've watched him play so much Kingdom Hearts shit, which isn't a good thing, mind you. Now let's bring up Kairi. She's just your usual damsel in distress in this game, and she literally has no personality in my opinion. She gives you her charm, which does give you access to Oathkeeper, but other than that, she's only important to the story because she got kidnapped. The story to me in general is fairly enjoyable, especially as the first game, which is highly confident that it was going to get a sequel because of the cliffhanger at the end with Pluto. But also in the final mixed version, you see a cutscene with Riku and someone in a black coat, wink wink. I was very excited to continue on with this series after Kingdom Hearts 1. I will say though that my first game was actually Birth by Sleep because chronologically it's the first game, but I do not recommend playing it first. Take my friend Mickey's advice and do not make the mistake I made by not listening to him because you won't get all the nods and callbacks it has. Trust me, I know now.
Did you get that?
No!
Play Kingdom Hearts 1 first because not only is it important story-wise, but gameplay-wise as well, which I might as well talk about now, right? Kingdom Hearts is a JRPG style game where it has platforming elements, but it also has some hack and slash style gameplay. Me personally, I'm a big fan of God of War, and this style appealed to me very fast and it just got better as I kept playing. Sora, however, does control a little bit wonky though. His jump can be a little too floaty, and if you lock onto something, Sora will never let go of that shit. Don't be surprised if you fall off a cliff by complete accident because of Sora knocking shit out without any consideration for me, little shit. It may be just me, but I feel his overall control on the ground is a bit too precise for my liking. I could get used to it, I mean it's not that big of a deal, so don't worry about Sora's control completely, it's not that bad. Compared to other games, this doesn't really compare, but again, this is the first game in the series, so I will give it a pass. Sora is not the only one on this adventure as we have Donald and Goofy on our side. Goofy plays the role of defense with his shield in hand and is actually pretty damn useful. Donald, on the other hand, isn't terrible. I know a lot of people give him a lot of shit, but Donald, I think, gets the job done. Now, I will agree his cure ability is a problem, but the fix is to go to the menu and change it the way you may need it. This may bite you in the ass because since you may be curing yourself already, Donald will still heal you, so for all you know, you just wasted a Curaga. His overall strength is also god-awful, and sometimes along with that Curaga bullshit, when I really need him to heal me, this fucker casts Thundaga, and when he does that, I don't know, sometimes I have a weird craving for roasted duck! I don't really rely on these two too much, since Sora's strength is just fine as well as his magic. In fact, you actually get to decide what power you want to focus on at the start of the game as well. You could choose either the sword, staff, or shield. Sword grants you strength as the main focus, staff for magic, and shield for defense. Unfortunately though, you have to cancel at least one out, so for this playthrough, I went with the sword and left behind the staff since I didn't really use magic too much. On Destiny Islands, you also get to decide the way you level up. You go up to Selphie, Tidus, and Wakka, who will then ask you some questions. Answer them in any order you so please in a specific way, and you'll either spawn at dawn, day, or night. If you spawn at dawn, Sora will level up fast from levels 1 to 50, but afterwards will be super slow for the remaining levels. Day will have a balanced level experience, which is what I recommend, and finally, night will have a slow pace start for leveling to 1 to 50, but unlike dawn, you start to level up faster after level 50. As I stated earlier, I say go for day since it's balanced, but dawn is also good if you only care about leveling up early on in the game. Along with leveling Sora up, he has a variety of abilities that can be unlocked even by leveling up. Some abilities I don't really bother with, but abilities like Sonic Blade, Leaf Racer, and Once More are where it's at. Sora, just like Donald, can use his own magic and cast spells such as Fire and my personal favorite, Thunder. These can also be upgraded through basic progression until you get to the Aga magic, where it's tripled in power. This is where Curaga stands as my personal favorite because it does heal you. In fact, I think it's very rare that I actually go out of my way to use potions and ethers. One thing I was completely shocked about was my overall enjoyment on the Final Fantasy side, more so than the Disney shit. I found more enjoyment fighting Cloud in Olympus Coliseum than Hercules himself, and Sephiroth, although a cowboy boot kick to the dick, was my favorite boss in the whole game. Hell, I enjoyed these characters so much that it actually got me interested, and now I actually started playing Final Fantasy VII not too long ago. As I stated earlier, Donald and Goofy are your main friends that will help you on your journey, but other Disney characters also get in on the action. Each Disney World, except for Wonderland and Olympus Coliseum, have other members that can join you and help you fight. I didn't bother in this playthrough though, since I like using Donald and Goofy anyway, and one of them doesn't get XP if they're switched out in the first place. Yeah, you can't have more than 3 party members, which to me is pretty fucking bullshit. Now, I will not complain about the Beast from Beauty and the Beast though, because this man is required for me to do any shit in Hollow Bastion until I get my Keyblade back, so have at it and fuck that wall up, Beast. Donald and Goofy anyway are needed to activate these Trinity marks on the floor anyway, which give you bonuses or required segments to progress through the actual level, so I keep the main 3 on at all times because of this. Eventually, you're going to start getting different Keyblades, so you're not just limited to the standard Kingdom Key. Some will focus on magic, while others will rely on strength. My favorite Keyblade was always Oblivion. Great damage and overall badass looking Keyblade, it's no wonder I ended up buying one. The most powerful one though is the Ultimate Weapon, but I cannot for the life of me handle the pressure of synthesizing for one weapon when Oblivion and Divine Rose do a great job already. Yes, you can actually synthesize materials from the Moogle shop with their constant Kubo, like, I swear if I hear one more fucking Kubo, I'm throwing you in that fucking hellfire! You can go to the shop in Traverse Town to pick up the standard shit as well, and, well, hell, for Donald and Goofy, you can buy stabs or shields. You can also get these ability rings and bands that act as upgrades to your strength, AP, and magic. When you know the right ones to use, you can get completely buffed up like a dude at the gym who clearly used a lot of steroids. Sid is your gummy ship and navigator and will mainly be there to give you info on a specific gummy block and tips on the actual gummy ship. The gummy ship is this ship you fly around to travel to other worlds, which no, is not a standard ship because you can customize your own and edit it to have more features. In my first playthrough, I couldn't give 2 shits about this, but after taking my time, I ended up really enjoying it. However, the actual gummy ship sections are honestly the worst part in the game for me. Now when decked out with gear, they aren't too bad, but if there's one thing I don't like about this game, it's the gummy ships. This is actually pretty minor because a little bit in the game, there are these warp segments where you simply warp to a world you've already visited, so I can forgive it for that because it's so quick and you don't even really have to fly the gummy ships anymore once you've done all the worlds. Kingdom Hearts is comprised with 12 worlds which corresponds to their respectful Disney counterparts with a few exceptions. first world is Destiny Islands, home of Sora, Riku, and this blank slate of a character. This world is mainly used as an introduction to the game where you just run around, getting fish, beating the shit out of your friends like a dad with a belt, and just building rafts. You don't do a whole lot here besides collect shit for your raft, and even then it's kind of barren and time consuming if you don't know what you're doing. On my first playthrough, I spent around 2 hours in this goddamn world, which shows you that it was very time consuming and I had no idea what I was doing. The world itself is very relaxing and the beach theme, even though I'm not fond of the beach, is really fun and I do enjoy the music. I'd say this is one of my favorites just by how good of an introduction I feel this world really is. And then we get sucked into a black portal and land in Traverse Town, which is a world you go to where you have no home anymore. I really dig this world because of its relaxing atmosphere and just by how much time you spend here. You've got the usual shop, the gummy shop, the 3 districts, the hotel where I just want to take Aerith and have a relaxing Saturday night with, Merlin's house, and the secret passageway. You also have the Dalmatians house, which I didn't mention because knowing I have to search for 99 Dalmatians is just depressing to me. This is also somewhat of a tutorial level where you just get the gist of everything, and this is where the story really picks up, so it's not too interesting, but it is one of my favorite worlds just off the vibe it gives. Wonderland is the next world you travel to, and if you saw one of my Kingdom Hearts 2 streams, then you would know that there's one thing I hate about this world, and that's this white, Peter Contail, bucktooth, pink-eyed, crackhead, onion body looking motherfucker. I can't stand this stupid ass white rabbit. Little ass bitch. I hate you, bitch! I mean, what is this man even really late for? I know that he's got a trial to get to, but does this man not know about, I don't know, a fucking alarm clock, bitch? Anyway, this is the real Disney World you visit to, and this one can be kinda confusing if you don't know what you're doing. There are these flowers you go up to, and I'm just saying this right now, you better have a spare potion ether on you because those are required to get through this goddamn trial the queen is holding to get evidence to save Alice from getting her head chopped off. Wanna know the kicker? You only need one piece of evidence, but my mom didn't raise no fucking bitch, so that's strictly a me problem. But still, you know? The boss battle in this world can be a bit of an ass to beat, but overall, this is an okay world in my book. Olympus Coliseum is the next world you visit where you meet Cloud Strife, which, I'm not gonna lie, if I were to go the other way for like 2 minutes... Nah, I'm just playing, let's just move on. In the Coliseum itself, you do a bit of training, then leave just to come back and fight a fucking Hydra. Cloud is then revealed to be working with Hades so he can destroy Hercules, just so Cloud can find the one person he's really looking for, which is Sephiroth. You revisit this world every now and then to fighting cups, with the hardest one being Sephiroth himself, and I'm not exaggerating. I've always been curious about this Platinum Cup in Olympus Coliseum. I mean, people say it's the hardest, but I've never tried it out, so let's give it a shot. Oh, okay, it's the same environment as the Pegasus Cup and shit like that. Alright, we got beams of light. Okay, that's pretty normal for a secret boss. This is a secret boss, right? Like the Ice Titan. Okay, it's some dude with silver hair, like literally every other anime villain. He's got a wing, just like Cloud's. Wait a minute. Oh shit! I recommend you come here anytime you get the chance because this is the best place to grind for more XP, so you have nothing to worry about in this world. It's short, it's quick, it does its job perfectly, which makes me happy with it overall. Up next is Deep Jungle, home to Tarzan and the gorillas. This obviously has a jungle atmosphere, so as long as you pay close attention to the cutscenes, you'll know where to go. Did you do that? No! Then look up a guide because fuck those vines. Next location is Agrabah, where you'll spend some time in the city while you spend most of your time inside the Cave of Wonders. This level is actually a little boring to me because I'm not a fan of its design, especially in the Cave of Wonders. It just doesn't fascinate me enough, and the music is actually really repetitive for me here. The boss fights are pretty cool, but nothing really to write home about except for the one with Iago and Genie Jafar. Other than that, nothing really too fascinating. Next is Monstro, and to me, Pinocchio is my favorite animated movie of all time, so I was very displeased of how much of a mess this level is. I mean, one cool thing is that if you're good enough, you can actually finish this world in about 20 minutes. To put it short, Pinocchio is annoying, Riku's still a bitch, and where the fuck is Figaro? Next up, we have Atlantica, and it's a piece of shit with a piece of shit controls, with a piece of shit boss, and just overall a piece of shit except for the music. Moving on. Halloween Town is legit one of my favorite worlds because of its theme and creative design. I love coming here, especially since the cosmetics Sora and Co have. I say that this is probably one of my favorite worlds in the whole game. Final Disney World is Neverland, and this is a fun world. You're on the Jolly Roger, and although it's a very small place, it's perfectly fine because of the boss battle where you fight an anti-Sora, as well as Captain Hook himself. However, you get to actually fly in this world, and I don't mean glide, I mean fly. Instant yes! Well, now we get to the game's climax with Hollow Bastion, and this is my favorite world in the game, bar none. It's super creative, and it has such kick-ass music. The thing that stands out to me is everything you do, which are the boss fights with Riku. In this world, at first, you don't have your Keyblade because Riku's a bitch-ass, so you gotta rely on the motherfucking beast, and I find it satisfying to beat Riku's ass at the end. Last up is the end of the world, and this is a stunning world. It hits all the right places with challenge, and it's a great send-off. The last boss fight with Ansem honestly pissed me off on my first playthrough, but now he was an absolute breeze. I love this kind of ending level to a game. Now for me though, I gotta say, even though I played this game on standard for this review, I actually started playing this for the first time on proud mode. I didn't listen to my friend who told me to play on standard, but in my experience, after playing proud mode, standard felt too damn easy. And that makes me wonder because even the final mix content, you know, with the fight with Sephiroth, or the mystery boss fight, or the mystery boss fight at the clock tower in Neverland, those were all done on proud mode, that footage you're seeing, so I don't know how easy it would actually be if I actually did fight them on standard. I don't know how different it would be. I don't recommend playing on proud mode on your first go like I did, but if you do, then you'll have a fucking cakewalk on standard. That Ansem fight I talked about was originally done on proud, so my recommended level for that boss is level 80. Minimum. I'm not going to go into detail about the music, but just so you know that the Final Mix Edition with remastered tracks on the PS4 are absolute ear candy to me. Whether it's Sora's theme, Halloween Town, Simple and Clean, or whatever, there's something here for everyone to enjoy. Traverse Town especially is so soothing that it's hard for me not to enjoy it. Do yourself a favor and get your ass on this soundtrack. At the end of this playthrough though, I gotta say that this shocked me. I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I did. The worlds are fun as hell with some exceptions, music is amazingly good, and the characters kick fucking ass. And I'm not talking about me kicking Riku's ass. If you're a fan of JRPGs and still haven't checked these games out, then I feel like you're doing yourself a huge disservice here. It definitely hasn't aged too well, but for what it is, I really enjoy it, and that's what counts, right? It's the first in the series, and hot damn does it sure feel like it, but for what it is, I don't think it's fair to toss it out because of it. I'm gonna give Kingdom Hearts an 8.5 out of 10. So that concludes my review of Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, and the next game we're looking at is, well, the next game on the Game Boy Advance, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Just saying this right now, I am not looking forward to it at all, but that's for next time, so I'm not excited for it, but it's what I gotta do. So I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.